Our speaker today, Ashish Kayal sir. Ashish Kayal sir is the founder of Wave Strategy Advisor, Ashish Kayal Trading Gurukul, his YouTube channel, and author of international book, The Effective Trading in Financial Markets Using Technical Analysis. He is a chartered market technician and member of CMT USA. Mr. Ashish is known for his expertise for inter-market analysis, Elliott wave theory, Neo wave, time cycles, and calling for major tops and bottoms of Nifty, Dow Jones Industrial Average, gold, crude, currency, and much more.
Thanks for the kind introduction, and it's always wonderful. Let me very quickly start by sharing across my PPT with you all. I'm not going to spend much time about myself. I'm just going to be talking very quickly about waves, and I'm just sharing my screen. Are you able to see the screen here, every one of you? Okay, awesome. Wave Strategy Advisors is an independent research firm which we found as providing research across equity, commodity, forex space, and that's why it focuses more on the concepts of basics of technical analysis plus advanced way of looking at the charts. Very quickly, this is a disclaimer. Whatever we are doing is purely from learning and educational perspective. So please keep in mind, we are SEBI registered research analysts, and whatever we are doing is purely from learning perspective. Let me now very quickly start with the concepts of time. You know, many of the people, many of the users, traders actually think, especially many of the brokers also think, timing the market is not possible. People say that you should never time the market, you should do an SIP. Now, this is what I'm talking right now is contradictory to the majority of the participants' thought process who is talking about only doing an SIP. I'm saying that even for an SIP, you can actually try and do an SIP on a specific time, a specific day. Why it should be always the first of the month? Why it should be always the first week of the month or any period? Why it cannot be aligned with respect to the time that is suggesting that the market should go up? Many of the people are focused on the fact that they see the markets are basis of not only cycles, they look at only in the form of prices. It's very important that you look at markets not only in prices, because when you trade, when you invest, you are buying two things. Remember that very, very clearly. When you trade and invest, you are not only buying price, you are also buying time. Suppose if you invested in Reliance Industries in 2009, post 2009-10, Reliance Industries for 7 years until 2017 did not do anything. It did not go in any specific direction until 2017. And that's because Reliance Industry was consolidating. So when you bought that stock, you bought time as well. And for 7 years, many of the stocks went exceptionally well. Let's take an example of ITC. Similarly, if you look at ITC, you would have bought ITC. There were so many memes about 2 years back on ITC. Do you remember? So many of them that talked about how ITC is a disaster and not moved because of all of those things. But look at ITC now up in these 2 years of time, it went so exceptionally well. So the point I'm trying to make is that it is possible for you to identify such reversal areas, and you can simply do that by understanding the concepts of time. Time forecasting is possible. When I say time forecasting, it means that you can forecast to the very day, which day prices can start moving, to the very hour, which hour there is a possibility of prices to move. And in fact, at times to the very minute, at times, not always. Many of you, it might be difficult to digest this concept that I'm talking about, which is because you have not come across it. But I've worked with Lehman Brothers in 2008. I know how it functions and I know what hedge funds use. So I will now introduce you to some concepts of time cycle, application of time cycle, because the entire concept of time, if you have to study, you might take a lot of it takes a lot of time to explain it. But right now I'm showing more from the application perspective on what are time cycles, and then we will move on to understanding from the options traders perspective. Because for options trading, it is extremely crucial that you understand theta. Theta means time, and many traders are just simply trading options without understanding that if you are not trading as per the momentum, as per the trend, and do not time the market, making money is very, very challenging. So over here, I'm going to show you some theoretical aspects of it as of now, and from there we will move on to the concepts of how to apply this practically. And if you have queries, you can always put it out on the chat box, and I might pick it up later on. Over here, you are seeing a chart which is semicircle. I'm going to explain you a few concepts, as I said, about time here. And this chart, which is looking semicircle, is let me just annotate it here. I'm just checking if we have an annotation. Okay, see, the annotation is not enabled on the webinar. It seems like that. No issues. I might just use the PPT screen itself. No problem on that. So if you're looking at this chart here, and if you are able to see what I'm drawing on the chart, when we are looking at this price and time scale, so this is the price scale and this is the time scale. When we are looking at the price and the time scale, you are not only looking at, as I said, you are not only looking at price, you are also buying time. So if you buy something on this day, say 12th, and this is 13th, I'm just drawing the scale here, 15th. If you are buying on 12th, you say that I bought a stock at a specific price on a specific time. Okay, that is what we do. And then if the stock goes from, say, from 12th on 13th, it went up. So we can say that the stock went from down back on the upside. You can see it going down, you can see it going up. That's how you will see it moving. Essentially, when we are talking about price techniques, we are looking with reference to prices, that prices are moving up. But I am now going to refer to another scale, which is known as time scale, which is this one. The question that you have to ask is, when will prices move up or when will prices move down? That's the question that you will have to ask. And that's the point over here. Is it possible to know whether on 14th prices has a possibility of moving up on 14th at a specific time? Okay. Now here you are seeing a semicircle. In a semicircle, why time works? Let me first explain it to you why time works, and then I'll explain what is this semicircle all about. If you're looking at the time, you might be able to see that in a year there are 365 days and it keeps repeating. In a month there is 31 days, it keeps repeating, 31 days keeps repeating. And if you see a lunar cycle, it's a 28 days of cycle, and that 28-day cycle keeps repeating. If you look at solar cycle, it's a 12.5 year of solar cycle, and that keeps repeating, which means that entire phenomenon across in which we are living is governed by time, and it keeps repeating. So that repeatable pattern is also seen in stock market. If we buy a house, we try to look at certain aspects of Panchang, and we try to see on which specific day we should have a housewarming, we should have the Grah Pravesh, all of those things. Why do we do that? Now, as more advanced we become, we are forgetting our basic culture, which talks about this science. And it's a science, I'm saying. It's not haphazard way of saying that the entire the auspicious time we look for marriage, for everything. There is a reason, there is a science behind it. Similarly, J.M. Hurst was an aeronautical engineer. He was a physician and an engineer who invented these concepts of time cycle, and he's known as the father of time cycle. And he saw that there is a natural phenomena in markets when you will be able to time it, you will be able to see the repetition, and you will have to understand it completely if you want to practice it. And I'm an engineer myself, and I never used to believe something like this is possible until and unless I started using it and started trading using this concept of time. Now, as I said, that if entire natural phenomenon is time, if you look at the overall economic cycle, let's talk about economics also to some extent, because economic cycle is also nothing but time cycle. You have a period of inflation like we are seeing now, then there is which results into a increase in the interest rate. Then you will see a period of slower inflation, then you will see a slowdown in growth, and the interest rate cycle also turns on the downside, rate pause, then the rate cut starts, and then again it repeats. So this cycle of economic activity is usually 3 to 4 years of time. And 4 years is known as a presidential cycle. A 10-year is known as a decennial cycle. A 54-year is known as a quadratic cycle. A 8-year is known as a kitchen cycle. So I'm trying to tell you, these are well documented way of looking at time. Now, from our perspective, we do not want to get into a 54 years or an 8-year or a 4-year cycle, because हमें derivative में trade करना है. मतलब if we are trying to trade derivatives or options, we do not really want to get into the process of getting into the process of looking at an 8-year cycle, because this might just not help us in any which ways. So we are going to look at some smaller time frame cycle which can be useful for us. Along with that, we will be looking at some options, much shorter time cycles. And we are applying this concept on smaller time frame does not mean you cannot apply it on longer time frame. You can even forecast the market right from here until 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 50 years down the line, how the stock market can move, and it is possible. So just keep that as an open mind. Over here, now let me come back to it. If you're looking at the entire semicircle, you will see that entire circle, one cycle is nothing but a rotation of, there are 3 ways to represent time. One is a complete rotation, starting at a 0 degree and coming back to it. That's a complete rotation from 0 to 360 degree. That's one. Secondly, you can look at it from the perspective of a sine wave. How many of you understand sine wave? Any engineers here? Or if in school you left sine wave and trigonometry is optional. So this is the time where you might want to look back again. A sine wave is nothing but one cycle, one complete rotation. That's a one cycle phenomena. In stock market, the reason we represent semicircle is because prices cannot go negative. Now that's an assumption, right? Crude oil went negative during COVID days, but it's assumed that the cycle, the time will not go negative. That's the assumption. With that assumption in mind, We come to the this chart now. In this chart, we can see that if this is the price scale over here, that you can see this is the price scale and this is the time scale. Cycle 3 means that the entire cycle started at this point, which is written and denominated by cycle 3, and completed at this point of time. Okay, that's one complete cycle, which means prices are going to form a low around this area, a primary degree low, and are going to form a low around this area. These are primary cycles. So if you look at Dow theory, you might already be aware about Dow theory consists of different types of cycles. You might be aware that not cycles, trends, primary trend, secondary trend, and minor trend. So there are different types of trend that you might see. And similarly, there are multiple time impacting at any given point of time on everyone. So even over here, there is a cycle 3, which is a bigger time frame cycle. We have a cycle 2. Ye hai cycle 2, which is nothing but two cycles. Cycle 2 combines to form one bigger time cycle. And similarly, cycle 1, which is much smaller. So let me show you a chart first. Then we will revisit this theoretical aspect, because once you see the chart, you will be able to then understand it in a much more detailed fashion. So let me show you the chart over here. This is a chart, and this is picked up from my book, Effective Trading in Financial Market. That is the book, and it's picked up from my book. Over here, you can see that a distance between this point, which is point A, and point B is 54 days, which means that from this point till this point, there are 54 candles between this. From point B to point C, there is 55 candles. These are trading days, which means that दोनों के बीच के अंदर जो number of days है, वो 55 है, या 55 candles है. Okay? From C to D, there is 51, then D to E is 62. If I take an average of all of these, I can say that on an average basis, Nifty is forming a low every 55 trading days. It's on an average basis, I can say that Nifty is forming a low every 55 trading days. Okay, is it clear? Now, since it forms a low every 55 trading days, we can always go and check that is prices or are prices near the 55 trading days cycle. If prices are near the 55 days trading cycle, we can then expect it to bounce back and reverse back on the upside. So this is known as a cycle period. इसे कहते हैं हम period, and that's the period of the cycle that we are looking at right now. In this cycle period, if you are not able to, how do we search for this period? How do I get that 55? For that, I need to be with you for nearly 10-12 hours. I'll not be able to explain it to you. But similar to Nifty, this is a Nifty index chart from 2015. You can look at the same cycle I am still applying. So I've been practicing time cycle since more than a decade. I worked with Lehman Brothers, by the way, in 2008. And if you are aware what happened with Lehman, they filed for bankruptcy and things went extremely chaotic. And it's that time that I started learning about these concepts. So I've been practicing this time cycle for many years, and it's working so well. Let me go again ahead on one of the chart and explain it to you in a much more detailed fashion. If you're looking at this chart, you will be able to see that this is the low which is formed in 2008, which was the crash systematically that happened, 2008. Then there is another low which formed later on. Now the distance between these 2 points is 85. The distance between the 2 points is 85 weeks. This is a weekly chart, which means every 85 week, prices have a tendency to form a low. That is what we can make out. How do I derive this 85 weeks? We can't really do that now, but it's the application. You can apply this on the chart using any software, and you can do that. In this period of 85 week, if you check the low which is formed here, the low which is formed here is also on the period of 85. This is the crash that market showed from the COVID crash, which is of 2020. Interestingly, everyone attributed to the fall because of the COVID. But the best part about this COVID crash of 2020 is that this crash of 2020 actually formed a low around 26th of March, and market Nifty bottomed out at 7,500 levels. So if Nifty bottomed out at 7,500 levels, despite of COVID, now the rise which started here was COVID wave 2, COVID wave 3, all of those happened, but the rise continued and market continued to move on. Now that's a very interesting indication that markets did what it has to anyways do, and it does not matter because the entire trend reversed on the upside because of the cycles. Now that's something very interesting, right? And similarly, now in June 2023, so if you look at the latest part of it, will it form a low? Always no. At times this cycle also forms a top instead of a low. In this period of over here, if we check, June 23 was the period, but little earlier. So always remember, time can vary. Time is very dynamic. Little earlier, we form a low on Nifty. And this low, prices again started rallying big time from there. From here. So once we can see and gauge on the basis of time cycles, we can say that the period from April around that June period. So you need to give 10% leeway. So since it's an 85-week cycle, you might have to give a leeway of around 10%. When I say 10% leeway, you might have to check if around the zone of May or early June, is there an opportunity to buy or invest into the market? So this is a bigger time frame cycle, and you got an opportunity by understanding this concept that around May, June, you might start investing in the market. Okay, that's how the time. So these are known as cyclic lines. जो ये देख रहे हैं आप, ये इसे कहते हैं हम cyclic lines. So these cyclic lines that I'm applying on the bigger time frame can be even applied on a smaller time frame chart. Now J.M. Hurst, as I said, J.M. Hurst was an engineer, and he mentioned that there are standard cycles. What are those standard cycles? There is a standard cycle of 80 days, 40, 20, and 10. Now these are trading days. Okay, these are calendar days. So if I have to translate into trading days, it becomes 7, 14, 28, and 56. Guys, if you understand, this is all mathematics. Market is nothing but mathematics, pure mathematics. If you understand the rules of the game and if you understand the maths, you can make money. If you go against the maths, especially option traders, if I may ask, how many of you are trading options? You can put it on the chat box, so I might know that you are trading options. How many of you are option traders here? If you understand the mathematics of options, you can make a lot of money. But if you do not understand the mathematics of options, you can actually lose a lot of money. Okay, so there are many people who are trading options. ठीक है, तो आगे बढ़ते हैं. For option traders, okay, I will go to another chart, which is a smaller time frame chart, where I'm going to talk about Nifty time for options trader. ठीक है, this is a smaller time frame chart. I'm not going into daily because I can see so many of you are options traders. So we will look at these concept of time cycle on a 15-minute chart, right? This is a 15-minute chart, and the period between this is 43. It's not 89. I think it's miswritten. It's 43 period between these two lines, which means that every 43 period, prices have a tendency to bounce back or to go up. That's the tendency of price every 43 period. Now, but if markets are forming lows, why it can't form top as per? So the question that comes to majority of the people mind is market used, or is time cycle used only for lows, and why not top? I will give you an answer to that by going back to the earlier slide and then coming to this slide again later. So let me go to the earlier slide of this one, which I was showing you, just to give you some perspective here. Over here, there are cycle 2 combined to form cycle 3. Can I say at point A and at point B? At point A and point B, can I say all the cycles, which is cycle 3, 2, and 1, converge together? Can I say that all the 3 cycles, which is cycle 3, 2, and 1, converge together at points A and point B? Which means that at these points, at A and B, we will get a major low, which means primary degree low will form. At point C, we will get an intermediate low, okay, like Dow theory, 3 trends. Similarly, time has 3 overlays of time here. Intermediate low, and we will get minor low at around point D and point E. These are minor lows. These are not major lows. Major lows are at point A and B. So we can very clearly say the ideal time to buy with momentum is at point A and point B, which is the starting and the ending of cycle 3, 2, and 1. All of these time converge together. So I can say lows will be formed here. So how will the chart look like? The chart will look like you will go on the upside, okay? Then prices will go up, you will see some kind of a correction, and then what will happen, since it will form a low again at this point of time, bounce back, and then it will come down. So what has happened is, essentially this is price. This price has topped out because of this cycle over here. Okay, now if I may have to ask you, the center of the cycles are usually the topping area. So the cycle 2 will top out here, cycle 2 will top out here, cycle 1 will top out here, and that's how the cycle will look like. Now if you have to understand which is the place where these cycle or the markets will top out, can you tell me which area, between which points the market will top out? Will it top out between A to B, A to D, C to E, E to B, A to B? कहाँ पर top out होगा market का? You will have to participate and help me understand. Lows कहाँ बनेगा वो clear है? Everyone. Lows will be formed between at A and B very clearly. Top out can be between A to C. It can be anywhere between A to C, or someone can say top out can be anywhere between C to B or C to A. मतलब कहीं पे भी top out हो सकता है, market top बन सकता है, ठीक है? कहीं पे भी. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब हुआ टॉप्स आर डिस्पर्स्ड. टॉप्स कहीं पे भी बन सकते हैं, डिस्पर्स्ड है, एक ही जगह पे नहीं है. बट द लोज आर सिंक्रोनस. लो सिंक्रोनस मतलब मार्केट में लो साथ में बनता है ना. इसका क्लासिक एग्जांपल देता हूं. आपने देखा है कोविड क्रैश, लो बना, मार्केट रिवर्स एंड बाउंस बैक, पैनिक में बना. 2008 क्रैश, पैनिक में लो बना. 2013 क्रैश, नीचे गया, लो बना, इमीडिएटली बॉटम बना, रिवर्स. It is instantaneous, it is quick, it is fast. Whereas when you are looking at the top, it takes time, because there are two emotions that create the lows and the tops. What are those two emotions that create? One is greed and other is fear. Greed is the reason why the market keeps on drifting on hope. Greed and hope, that's the reason why market goes up. Fear and panic, that's the reason why market forms a low. Because greed and fear are two different sides of the coin. Fear is a very, very strong emotion. Fear is very strong. It is 3 times more stronger than greed. And that's why market forms a panic low and it forms a distributed top. And that's why cycles are used to capture lows and not the top. Because tops can be distributed, dispersed, takes time, it's slower. But the lows are instantaneous. And that's why हम cycle को lows catch करने के लिए use करते हैं. लेकिन अगर cycle का लो निकल जाता है तो हम उसे ट्रेड सेल साइड पे भी कर सकते हैं. So let me go up on the chart of option. Let me show you one more chart of option. This is a Nifty option chart. Nifty 19,500 का put option chart है. Okay, Nifty 19,500 put option chart, which I have applied this concept of time cycle. It's a 15 minutes chart. It's not daily. अगर आप options trade करते हैं तो आपको पता होना चाहिए कौन से टाइम पे एंटर करना है. And time cycle helps you to confirm that. But remember one thing, guys, price and time confluence is important. You need to club both the concepts of price and time together. Now, if I'm looking at this option chart and it's around that area, so around that area, if I see a positive candle formation or my pattern breakout, I can be very, very convinced to take that trade. So far, I was thinking whether the breakout will happen and will it fail. But now, because of this time concept, I am now convinced that the breakout will happen and it will not fail. So my accuracy of trading options will increase sharply by looking at this. I'll also show you how to plot these cycle lines. For many of you who might wonder, यार सीख तो लिया, apply कैसे करें, plot कैसे करें? I will show all of those things also to you. So if you're looking at these cycle lines, these are cycle lines. This cycle line, the distance between this line and this line is 87. Okay, I can say there is a low formed. This is a low formed on an option chart. Let's go to the latest part. There is a low formed on a put option at around 100 level. And if you check prices, and this is a 15 minute, in just less than a day, prices moved from this level to 163 already. This is 19,500 ka put option. Prices moved from 100 to 163 in this kind of a scenario, ye movement. So the next cycle is going to be happening on 14th of August, which is going to be on Monday at I think around 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. So I know around that area, if I get a buying opportunity of a put option, I will be able to trade extremely well. So suppose if prices go up and then prices start coming down around this area, reverses up. So I will get a classic opportunity to buy. Are you understanding how do I buy a time? See, application and buying a time is very important. How do you buy a time? So in order to buy a time, you need to clearly understand कि टाइम को बाय करने के लिए आपको कैसे करना है. यहाँ पर if you are understanding time, you will be able to trade. Now let me show you on a chart. Guys, are we on the right track? I want to understand if you are getting what I'm trying to communicate. We are trying to study time, which means every 87 period, अगर आप देखेंगे, every 87 period there is a tendency of prices to bounce back. यहाँ से bounce back, and look at this bounce back was phenomenal. A few of you are not able to hear my voice. I'm not sure. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So we can clearly see a sharp bounce back from 100 to 275, and prices came down. So similar to this, what we have to do is, now I'll go on a trading view screen, my trading view chart, and I will show you how you can plot it also on trading view, because unless you have the tool and the technique, सीख के करेंगे क्या यार? अगर हमें पता ही नहीं हमें plot कैसे करना है, so how do I trade it from the next day? And so let me go to trading view first and give you an perspective कि आप कैसे सर्च कर सकते हो साइकिल को, कैसे प्लॉट कर सकते हो इस साइकिल को. So how you can do that? Let me just share that across. Just a second. Now the chart that you see here is of ITC. It's a wonderful, phenomenal chart. Simply look at the starting point here and look how amazing ITC has been moving. Can you see that? Right from this point. ITC formed a low. From here went up. Formed a low, went up every single time. And ये होने के बाद नहीं बता रहा हूँ. There are many of the participants who have been with me for many years, and they might be aware about this stock, ITC. I will show you on Maruti also. I will show you on Nifty ka short-term chart also, Bank Nifty also. So if you are looking at this chart, okay, I will not be able to annotate since the annotation tool is not enabled. It's okay. You can see prices went up all the way from here, all the way at this point also. You can see every single time price went up here, went up here, went up from here. यहाँ से थोड़ा सा reverse हुआ. So how do we look at time as a selling signal? If the prices break the low, so this was the low of the time, and prices break the low, so it will not take out the high until the next low, which worked well. It formed a low here, formed a low, formed a low. It is working like magic. So ITC, I can say that there is a time support on ITC, which is at 442, which means if ITC breaks this low of 442, then something is going to change. Which means ITC का जो uptrend है वो danger में है for next 55 trading days, because I'll just show you the next cycle. Until when? If ITC breaks the low of 442, I can say that the stock uptrend or the top at 500 will not be taken out until 13th September, which means आज से एक महीने तक ITC 500 का level नहीं निकालेगा. On what basis? See, as I mentioned, these are cycles, and cycles are helping you to identify the lows. So these cycle low if taken out, it forms a top. So ITC will not take out that high for next until the cycle low is formed, which is 13th September. So that information can be used for even selling of the prices, not only for buying. Okay, and theta plays a very vital role in options. So there was a question, similar thing that affect the option price, the theta of option and similar other things affect the option price. Of course, theta is affecting. So time को identify करना जरूरी है कि कौन से time से prices reverse हो सकता है. अभी इसे plot कैसे किया मैं आपको explain करता हूँ. So you can also use that later on. On the left hand side, there is a tool here. Over here, left hand side scale, you can see cyclic lines. Okay, these are cyclic lines. You can simply select the cyclic lines. Select the lowest point that you see on the chart. Start from there, just for understanding. From that point, drag it on the right hand side and select a period around 56. Why 56? Because that's a standard cycle. I'm not getting into the entire science of it, but I'm just telling you a trailer. So आज जो अभी आप देख रहे हैं वो एक trailer है. Okay, just a brief. So this is how you can plot cycle line. You go here, select it, drag it on the right hand side, drop it, and you double click and you will see the cycle period also. यहाँ पे drop करने के बाद में अगर आपने double click किया, the difference between this gives you the cycle. तो ये कितना period का cycle है. That's how you can plot cycle. Similar to this, you can plot it on options. I will go on Nifty chart now just to show you on what is the trading, how do we trade Nifty and how do we look at Nifty from here. If I go on Nifty 15 minutes chart, how do we know the time cycle of each stock? Okay, every stock will have a cycle around the area of 7, 14, 28, 56, 110. These are magical numbers, yes. Why these? 7 का double 14, 14 का double 28, 28 double 56, 56 double 110. So every stock will have a cycle which is going to be around this period of 7, 14, 28, 56, around this period. Your aim as a trader is to identify, here, can I use a cycle of around 56? Around means you can use 55, you can use 52, you can use 58. Around that period, you can use those cycles and you can look at it. So when you look applying it on daily chart, I'll just write it down, or you can just write it down. On the daily chart, 7, 14, 28, 56 by heart kar lo. On the 15 minutes or on a weekly chart, it is 10, 20, 40, 80. Okay. Shall I repeat this? 10, 20, 40, 80 is what we call it as on the weekly time frame or a 15 minutes time frame. Okay. And if you're looking at the daily time frame, it is 7, 14, 28, 56. The reason भी मैं बता रहा हूँ, ऐसा क्यों, ऐसी partiality क्यों? डेली में अगर आप देख रहे तो सैटरडे संडे आ गया. नाउ प्रॉब्लम क्या है, 1 week is 1 week, उसमें छुट्टी हो या ना हो, it's complete 1 week. So that's why on the weekly time frame we say that it's a complete 1 week. And but daily में you can say that, or weekly में you can say it's a complete 1 week. But daily में you can say that I have a holiday, like next week, 15th August is a holiday. So it's not 7 days of trading, it's just 4 days of trading. So cycle इसलिए हम 10 नहीं लेते, हम 7 लेते हैं. That's how we look at it. Also, on the 15-minute chart, there is a cycle which you are seeing right now. It's 43. We consider only trading days in cycle. Yes. So that's why we take 7 on trading days. Weekly is 1 week. Usme week is 1, right? So it doesn't make a difference whether that trade was holiday or not. On 15 minutes, we use a cycle of 43. Now look at this cycle. It has a phenomenal cycle that you see here on 43. Nifty founder. When I say a cycle low, it is not going to be exactly on that same day. It's going to be same minute. मतलब हो सकता है उसके 20-15-20 minute आगे पीछे हो. This is a 15 minutes. So मतलब around that 1 hour time frame. This cycle low was formed and see the rise that we saw. Amazing. The cycle low was formed here. See the rise that we saw. The cycle low was formed here. See the rise that we saw. It's simply brilliant. Over here, what happened? Cycle low was formed. We got a rise, but this rise only went until this area. And the low was broken. हुआ क्या? Prices ऊपर गया, थोड़ा ही ऊपर गया. Did not break the prior swing high, but break the low, which means that the top here, which is 19,560, will not be broken until the next cycle low, which means 14th August around 12 p.m. This high of 19,560 will not be broken. Now, if you have that information, कि Thursday को 145, if Nifty has broken around this area at around on Thursday, you know that you will not be breaking above this level. For an option trader, that's such an vital information, because now what I can do is, now I can sell my options, strike prices above 19,560, मतलब 19,600, 19,700, जो भी option है weekly, मैं उसे बेच सकता हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे पता है मंडे के 12 बजे तक ये हाई नहीं निकलने वाला है. दूसरी चीज, अगर मुझे देखना है अभी यहाँ से ट्रेड कैसे लेना, since ये Monday 12 o'clock is the cycle, since this cycle is coming on Monday at 12, this low, so there is a possibility that before that prices will come down. So Monday ko the first half we will see selling. Okay, after that we might see buying post 12. Are you with me? Now if the swing high, see, price is very important with time. You have to use confluence of price and time both. So 19,480, if Nifty 480 नहीं, ये level लेते हैं 19,490. If Nifty on Monday after 12 p.m. breaks above 19,490, it's time to buy. कैसे मिला? Time is around 12. Price confirmation about the swing high, which means if around 12, मतलब 12:30, 1 o'clock या 11:30 के आसपास Nifty 19,490 का level break करता है, तो आपको buying opportunity मिलेगी. Suppose if Nifty shows a pullback, but does not break that level and breaks the low, you get a classic selling opportunity here, because it went up, did not break the swing high, lower high, lower low, right? Wow, Bhagwan છે, price is God. You trading with the price, and समय बलवान છે, trade with the time. Now you are confluencing price and time. This is how price and time confluence should be traded. The problem is people do not understand. अगर मैंने एक tweet किया, so if you follow my Twitter, I say that यार 12 p.m. is the good auspicious time for market. Now 12 p.m. से pullback आया 50-60 points का, और या थोड़ा ही pullback आया और low break हो गया. Then they will start saying अरे आपने तो बोला था ऊपर जाएगा. But this is how you should understand. So this is the chart that I am looking for Monday as a trading opportunity. Either it has to go about 19490 or it has to break the low of the first half, जो मंडे सुबह बनेगा, which means अगर मेरे को ट्रेड लेना है BTST कॉल, IST-BT लूंगा मैं, आज बेचा है मंडे सुबह जाके खरीदूंगा, क्योंकि मंडे को फर्स्ट हाफ until 12 PM until 11:30 मार्केट में सेलिंग प्रेशर हो सकता है, सेकेंड हाफ में बाइंग बन सकती है if 19490 is taken out. That is my strategy. Now the question is, what if Monday सुबह ही मार्केट ऊपर हो गया? Then wait. If Monday morning it opens up, then wait for it to come down around 12 PM. Once it comes down around 12 PM, then I will again start looking for a buying opportunity. So Monday opening is going to help me be on the short side in the first half, maybe on the buy side in the second half, because 19490 is the key level. Are you getting my point? How to trade these time cycle? Every one of you, it's important that you understand the application, क्योंकि अगर ये नहीं समझा दोस्तों तो आप सही तरीके से ट्रेड नहीं कर पाओगे मार्केट में. इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड दी एप्लीकेशन ऑफ हाउ टू ट्रेड दीज थिंग्स. सो यहाँ पर एक और चीज समझने वाली ये है कि इस चीज को आप डायरेक्टली ऑप्शंस पे अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. नाउ इफ आई नो दिस एंटायर कॉन्सेप्ट, व्हिच मींस दैट आई कैन एक्चुअली सेल कॉल ऑप्शंस, बिकॉज और मे बी बाय पुट ऑप्शंस. आज पुट ऑप्शन बाय कर सकते थे हम बिकॉज ऑफ दिस entire concept that I have explained it to you right now. And on Monday, if you know options, you might want to wait. If it breaks 19490, I can buy call option. If it breaks the low, I can sell call option, and I can time the market. That's how you should time the market. Okay. Now let me go on the chart. There are many things that I have yet to explain it to you, and you know time just flies. Okay, Bhupender Singh Amavasya. Yeah, you are coming to the lunar cycle, जिसके बारे में मैंने अभी बात नहीं की है. By the way, guys, did you realize we are already 55 minutes away? I have not even touched upon time. That's how time flies, right? Okay, so this is chart of Maruti. If you're looking at Maruti and you are looking at this chart, you might be able to see that these are certain GAN levels which are marked on the Maruti chart. GAN levels क्या होता है वो मैं अभी नहीं बता रहा, but these are time cycle levels also. तो Maruti का जो support level है वो around 9352 के आसपास है, जहां पर वो अभी क्लोज हुआ है 9350. Dev Kumar is saying that please keep going ahead, don't see your watch. अरे भाई, if I keep going ahead, PhillipCapital will not invite me next time. They will say यार ये टाइम का कुछ टाइम की बात करता है और टाइम को ही रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करता है. That will be the problem. So I'll have to rush right now ahead. So मारुति का अगर आप चार्ट देख रहे हैं यहाँ पर you can clearly see the overall movement has been exceptionally well with respect to the cycle. कभी कभी होता है जहाँ पे लो बनना है वहाँ टॉप बन जाता है, वो कभी कभी होता है. So if you look at it, Maruti formed a low here, bounced back, classic low, bounced back, formed a low, bounced back. These are time cycle support zones, and it works so exceptionally well. Bounced back, and abhi Maruti ye low break kar raha hai, which means that for next, this is approximately, I would say, would have taken about 30 days. For next 20-25 days, Maruti will not take out the high of 10,000. That's what I can see basis of this chart. So if that is the point, I can start selling Maruti ka call options. So that's how I can trade this. Let me now move forward. ITC I've already talked about. This is RBL Bank. If you're looking at RBL Bank, it has Elliott wave count plus time cycle. Both of those concepts, ये दोनों चीजें हैं RBL Bank में. यहाँ पर हम देख सकते हैं कि कैसे आप anticipate कर सकते हो. This is from July chart, and those are the GAN dates. Yes, Sushant, not GAN dates, GAN levels था मारुति पे, and these are cycle days. Post this, the stock was quoting around 226, so we expected the stock to continue to rally on the upside in the third wave, and look at the low formed exactly at 63 days, and it continued to rally from this point of 63 and went up. So right now I know RBL Bank is consolidating in fourth wave, if you know Elliott wave, and then post completion we'll again see a bounce back, and September mid के आसपास, okay, this is the mid, there will be a classic opportunity to buy RBL Bank. So what I'm going to do, I'll put a calendar. अभी तक हम calendar meetings के लिए रखते थे, अभी हम calendar stocks के लिए रखेंगे. That around mid-September, I will look for buying opportunity in RBL Bank. Around mid-September, which means if around mid-September RBL Bank में price confirmation, so price and time both together is important. यहाँ पर, so 63 है. मारुति में I will have to recheck. I don't recollect. मेरे charting software में है directly plotted. I will have to check. I'll come back to you. You just follow my Twitter. I'll explain. I will mention that time on Twitter कि कौन सा time frame है. Now let me come to lunar cycle. Lunar cycle is a very interesting cycle. If you have looked at it, यहाँ पर you will see that on the lunar cycle. Why does lunar cycle work? You know, as I said, many of people think that यार lunar cycle ये सब फालतू की चीज है. नहीं. If 28 days is a moon cycle, can I say female body is governed by these 28 days of moon cycle? Only because they follow the period of 28 days, we exist. Otherwise, we wouldn't have existed here. So, basis of that concept of lunar, there is a high tide and low tide on Earth. You know that, right? Amavasya, Purnima, low tide, high tide happens. Similarly, our body is comprised of more than 75% of water. So the high tide, low tide, which happens on Earth, even happens within us. For female, it's very much in sync with the lunar cycle. For male, we do not really recognize it because we do not meditate. If you do, you will recognize the changes within you that is happening. Now, stock market is nothing but driven by social mood. Social mood के basis पे stock market drive होता है. Similarly, for this lunar cycle is exceptionally well. What we have to identify is the relationship of stock market with lunar cycle. It keeps changing. In the current uptrend, this Amavas, the lower one is a Purnima. This is a Purnima. Purnima means full moon. And the upper one is Amavasya. Now सोचो ना, अगर ये चीज ट्रेडिंग व्यू के अंदर है, मतलब किसी और ने भी सोचा है. That's why there is an indicator. I didn't create this. So on the Purnima market rallied, Amavasya market rallied, Purnima market rallied, Amavasya rally, every single time in this entire trend for 2 to 3 days post the lunar cycle, prices rallied. यहाँ पर ये lunar cycle था 2 से 3 दिन का. Every single time. For the very first time. ये ध्यान रखना what I'm trying to tell you now. For the very first time, Nifty has actually fallen for the very first time on the lunar cycle, which means something changed. और ये होने के बाद नहीं, ये last Saturday मेरा एक webinar था, if you were a part of it, I talked about it. For the first time, this lunar cycle formed a top, which means market has possibly topped out at 19,990 and we have started seeing a retracement of it. यहाँ से pullback आ सकता है, I'm not ruling that out, but 19,990 नहीं निकलेगा. Now with that in mind, can I trade options for at least 1 week, 2 weeks horizon? कि यार वो नहीं निकलेगा तो I can start selling options. And it is why? Because this cycle, for the first time, stock market relationship with moon has changed, which never happened before. So that's the reason. बहुत सारी चीजें दोस्तों, ये पूरा साइंस है. मैं तो खाली आपको एक संक्षेप में ट्रेलर दिखा रहा हूँ. Let me now move forward. This is Nifty GAN levels. It is fantastic. The way Nifty GAN level works is simply amazing. 19,952 is a magnetic level. Anyone following me on Twitter? Did you see the GAN levels that I've been talking about when it was at 19,952? We are now at 19,391. Every single time, prices have bottomed out or topped out around these GAN levels. Every single time. Look at these tops. Look at these lows. It is simply fabulous. The way prices behave around these GAN levels and time cycles. So I'm not getting into GAN discussion. I'm just showing you GAN is also one of the ways of looking at cycles. This is gold chart. This is anticipated way back in March 2023. Here gold will go on fifth wave up at 62,000 level. And look at gold. Gold went all the way towards 62,000 on the upside, came down, formed a low around the cycle area. Look at the cycle. It is so phenomenal. Every 51 days, gold is actually forming lows. Isn't that superb? And we formed a low here as well. This is crude oil. Crude oil follows 115 days of cycle. This is prior to Russia-Ukraine war, when we talked how crude oil can form a low, and crude oil formed a low at Russia-Ukraine war around that area. Now, the most important part is right now. I tweeted in the again today that crude oil is not tweeted. I mentioned it in my monthly research. Crude oil is bottoming out again at 115, which means crude oil will rally from here. USD INR will depreciate, which means USD INR will go up from here, which means inflation will increase again, which means rate hike will happen again. This is not the pause in the rate hike. This is just a temporary pause. We will increase rate hike again. And this information you can get by simply looking at these kind of charts. Are you understanding? Sensex ka. So there are people who think it is not possible to predict markets down the line. And this report was published in the year 2013. Sensex was at 12,000 and it was expected it will touch the levels of 61,000 in 7 to 8 years of time. And यहाँ पर सोचो, अगर किसी ने आपको 2013 में बताया होगा that Sensex will touch 61,000 by 2020, giving 10% of leeway. If you check later on, it's written here at the bottom, which means by July 2021, Sensex will be 61,000. And Sensex touched 61,000 level in July. Can you beat that? In not July, October 2021. 7 से 8 साल पहले का prediction is coming true. And the prediction for 2027 is ready with me. बाद में क्या होगा? So I keep predicting the markets, and that's possible to do. Similarly, Bank Nifty in 2013, Bank Nifty was quoting around the levels of 12,000, and it was predicted that Bank Nifty will touch the levels of 40,000 in this period of time. And Bank Nifty did touch 40,000. Imagine 12,000 से 40,000 की जर्नी. ये रिसर्च पब्लिश हुई थी in July 2013, and it did happen exactly after that. That's how it is. What is the Sensex prediction? Ayush Chaudhary is asking 2027. Without charts, I don't want to tell you, Ayush, because it will not look. I can give you any number, but on the chart with the physics or science, I can say it will make a lot more sense. Is it clear, guys?